Welcome to Sonic Safety with Sam Watts. That's me, Sam Watts. I am your host of this program where we talk about transportation and transportation safety mostly. We've niched ourselves down, or niched our way, however you want to pronounce it. That is where we've gotten to, is in the safety and compliance. And why? You might be saying, why, Sam, would you be talking about safety and compliance? Well, for one, because I think it's important. I really do. I think, and we're going to kind of get into this here a little bit today, but I think that a lot of companies need to make sure that their company is built on a foundation of safety and compliance. Okay. And number two, a lot of people just don't know much about it. And I'm not here to be a gatekeeper by any means. And I know all the other safety guys out there are not meant to be gatekeepers. Like, we're not here to hoard this information so that no one else knows what's going on. We're here to share it. That's what we want to do. Every safety guy I know, and girl, there's plenty of women in the safety business as well. We all want to share this information. And so that's what I'm doing. That's what my goal with Sonic Safety is to do. If you are listening on the listening platforms, whichever one you're on, make sure that you give us a good rating, give us a couple good stars. That really helps get the show out there to people. It tells that the platforms that this is a good show that people should listen to, and then they promote it out there. And if you are watching on the YouTube machine, make sure to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel. That helps out a ton as well. And if you like what we're talking about, or what I'm talking about, because there's no one else here, feel free to share it. Okay, that helps grow the channel as well and gets the show out there. Because again, I'm not recording this to hear myself talk, okay? I can hear that without the cameras and the lights and the microphones and all that kind of stuff. I am recording this show and I'm producing this show, and I'm taking a lot of time out of my day so that I can share this information with you guys, share information about safety and compliance and all that kind of stuff, because that's ultimately what I want to do. That's what I'm here for. I'm going to put my phone on vibrate there, so it doesn't interrupt the show anymore. If you heard that was my phone. I got a text. People like me, okay? People want to reach out to me. People want to talk to me. I know. It's crazy. Anyways, speaking of liking people, okay? Ewing Safety and Industrial. You've heard me talk about them forever since I started the show, and even on my previous podcast. They are good people. They're a sponsor of mine, and I really, really like them. And I think that you should check them out. So go to ewingsafety.com. They've got everything you need when it comes to safety and apparel and everything, okay? Their catalog is massive. And if you don't need it, or if they don't have it, you don't need it. I wrecked that little saying. My apologies to Ewing Safety. But make sure to check them out, ewingsafety.com, or go visit them in Morris, Illinois, if you're in the Illinois area. But I think, and I should really kind of follow up, I think they might be doing something out on the East Coast too now. So anyways, that might be breaking news. I'll have to follow up with that at a later time. But ewingsafety.com. Okay, today I'm going to let you in on a little bit of my method, okay, when it comes to safety stuff. I with Wattsman Diesel House, the company that I own and founded and all that kind of stuff, I basically am your safety guy, okay? People call me, you can call me, email me, whatever, and at sam@wattsman.com. And I'll come into your company and basically be your director of safety, okay? I want to help companies with that. And it's one thing to just be a consultant where you go in and you say, do this and do this and do this, and then you walk away. Whereas what I do is I say, we need to do this, and then I do that for you. Okay. Now, I can't give too many specific examples because every company is different. That's the beauty of safety and what I do, is that every time I go to a company, they have a different need. Okay. And so one of the things that I do is I've got a little rundown that I do, and it's not very complicated, but if you want to build, or if you want to create, or if you want to revamp your safety systems at your company, these are the three things that I do with Wattsman Diesel House. You call me, you email me, sam@wattsman.com, and this is what I'm going to come in and do for your company. Now, some of these steps we are a little bit quicker than others. Some of them we have to spend a lot more time on. It all depends on where a company is with their safety and compliance program. Sometimes we have to create policies and procedures and the whole 9 yards. Sometimes we just kind of have to tweak a couple things. Okay, and that's just the name of the game. Some people are great at their safety compliance. Some haven't paid attention, and it is pretty obvious. So that's when guys like me come in and go, okay, we got our work cut out for us. So I thought it'd be a good idea for an episode. If you want to implement these, or if you want to steal these 3 steps that I do, by all means, do it. And if these 3 steps intimidate you, or you just don't know where to start with some of them, contact me. Okay, that's what I do. So, whenever I go into a new company, like I said, there's 3 steps. The first step I always do when I go to a new company, and you can do this as well, is I have to identify the risk. Okay. Risk is kind of a word that we use a lot in the safety industry. Insurance companies use it a ton. It's not really used, though, in other areas of trucking. Maybe accounting might use the term risk. But that's what we look for when it comes to safety, is how risky is what we're doing? How risky is it? And in trucking, here's the bottom line with trucking. It is a very risky industry. Okay, there's really big trucks moving a lot of weight at fast speeds down the interstate system with people who I question how some of them got their driver's license. Not necessarily the CMV folks, the commercial motor vehicle, but the people in cars. You've seen them out there. They drive like absolute maniacs, and then are wondering why they end up in crashes. So, but safety or trucking is inherently risky. Okay, that's what it is. And that's why guys like me exist, to say, how can we cut down on the risks that are involved? Now, when I say identify risks, I'm not talking about, telling truckers to drive 20 miles an hour to avoid stuff. I'm saying in compliance, in safety, you have procedures and you have policies. And in compliance, you have documents that you need to have in your company. And some don't. And I get that, because there's a lot of stuff that a lot of times owners of companies are typically, I don't want to say all the time, but typically for a smaller fleet, the owner of the company was a driver, and potentially still is a driver for that company. And what they've done is they've driven and they made a couple bucks, and they went and used that to buy another truck. And then they did well and they bought another truck, and they bought another truck. And all of a sudden now they got 10 trucks. And they don't necessarily know everything that needs to be done when it comes to safety and compliance. They know everything about operations and probably maintenance and how to make money doing this thing. But there are some things with safety and compliance that needs to happen. And just in my experience, a lot of them they don't know. Okay. And I'm not coming down on anybody with this. It's literally, you don't know what you don't know. They don't know what questions to ask because they literally don't know to ask them. So that's why it's important to bring a guy with safety and compliance background experience in, so that they can help you with that. It's the same thing with like legal stuff. I don't know everything there is to know about legal stuff. I know some stuff, but when it comes to legal stuff, like there's times I don't even know what question to ask, because that's just not my world. Same thing with safety. So identify the risk, okay? See where, let's strip this thing down and see where we are having issues. Are we enrolled in a drug consortium, okay? Are our driver qualification files up to code, up to speed? Excuse me. Do we have everything in there that we need? Do we have a driver handbook? Do we have a driver discipline policy? What happens if a driver has an issue with something, they're running past their e-logs and stuff like that? Do we have a policy in place that we can point to and say, this is how we enforce and discipline drivers when they're doing something that they shouldn't be doing? I know discipline's kind of a big word, but that's ultimately what it is. Are we holding our drivers accountable to do what they are supposed to do and do what is legally expected of them? Okay. So those are some things that I come in, take a look at right away is, do we have all these policies in place? Identifying the risk, identifying the gaps. You'll sometimes hear safety guys say that too. We're just looking for what is wrong. We're looking for all the skeletons in the closet, okay? And this is definitely a time where I tell people that I'm talking to, don't hide anything, okay? I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to come down on you on anything. I want to know what we have and what we don't have, okay? Because both of those are equally important. And that is how I'm able to do my job then, is to figure out what we have and what we need, okay? So step one, if you're going to build your safety department, expand your safety department, revamp your safety department, identify the risk, okay? All right, step two, implement plans or implement procedures. There we go, not plans. Implement procedures and policies, okay? So again, what I was talking about before when it comes to, do we have a drug consortium? Do we have driver qualification files? Once you identify the risks, once you identify the gaps, now it's time to build and correct all the things that need correcting. Okay. A lot of times I see trucking companies will have old manuals that, there's new stuff that, like, I even saw one time where they had no cell phone policy. Because when they wrote it, cell phones weren't really a big thing, So, things like that. And are you doing everything you need to? Like I said, if you have a driver that is running a commercial motor vehicle that is regulated by DOT, they need to be in a drug pool, okay? A random drug pool. They need to have a pre-employment drug test. They need to be in a pool. All right, do you have that? If you don't, you need to implement that, okay? Implement procedures and policies. Now, sometimes some trucking companies can kind of go overboard a little bit when it comes to their policies, and you have to be careful when it comes to that as well. Because if you implement policies or procedures that you have no way of following up on, that can actually come back to bite you, okay? So the scenario could be if you have inward-facing dash cams, okay? I know that's kind of the big hot topic right now, is drivers don't want cameras looking at them. And I get it. I get it. That could be a whole another podcast of that conversation. But if you have those in place and you have policies around that saying can't be on your cell phone, you can't eat while you're driving down the road, whatever the policy is, but you don't check on that, like you don't review any dash cam footage, if that driver were to get into an accident and it's because they were on their cell phone or something, and you say, well, I don't know, an attorney will ask you, how often has this happened? Does this driver have a history of being on their cell phone? And you say, I don't know, because I don't check the video. That's going to come back really bad on the company, okay? Because if you have procedures and you have, like, you can only be on your cell phone, you have a 1 strike, 2 strike, 3 strike policy, whatever it is, and they come back and an attorney finds out that you haven't implemented and enforced any of that policy, that's going to hurt the company, okay? They're going to say, why even have this if you're not even going to do it? So when it comes to policies and procedures, make sure that whatever you put into practice, you can actually monitor. And that actually leads to step number 3, is inspect the data, okay? If you're going to put policies and procedures and all that out there, you need to make sure that you can inspect the data. Inspect what you expect. That's what my father always said. You need to inspect. If you are expecting your drivers to not be on their cell phones or not eat behind the wheel, you need to make sure you follow up with them on that and make sure that they're not doing it. I always, whenever I do stuff like that with drivers, especially some sort of big turnaround, I always make sure that they are very aware of what my expectations are. And that because here's the deal. If you explicitly tell a driver, this is what I expect out of you, and if it's something that's changing, something that wasn't expected, now it is, but you say, listen, I'm expecting this out of you, 7 out of 10 times, they're going to correct that behavior, and you're probably not going to have an issue. Those 3 times where they don't correct something and you have an issue, once they find out that you're actually watching them, and not like Big Brother watching them, I don't mean that, but like you're actually following up on what you expect out of them, 80, 90% of those guys will fall in line. Like they will correct their actions because they just want to do their job. That's what it is. And I just want to do my job. I just want to make sure that they're safe out there. I don't enact any policy that hampers a driver from making a living. Okay. I don't want them to come back to me and say, I would like to make more. I could make more, but your safety policies are prohibiting me from making more money. That's not what I do. I want to make sure that any policy I put in place is to actually help them in the long run. They might not know that I'm putting in place to help them, but it ultimately does come back. Like if I'm being really strict on a logbook, which I am, I'm not doing that so that they can't drive more. I'm doing that so that if they get, into an accident or they get pulled over by DOT, they can see or they can show that they have their logbook in order. Okay. That's what I'm doing. I'm helping them with that. Okay. So you got to make sure that you are communicating very clearly to everybody involved what your expectations are. And this is another piece too that I see a lot of companies fail at, is that safety is not just for safety departments and for drivers, okay? Safety's got to be communicated throughout the whole organization, all right? The dispatchers need to know what the expectations are. The operations people need to know what the owner of the company needs to know what the expectations are for these safety procedures and policies, okay? That is very monumental so that you don't have dispatchers telling drivers to do something that's illegal and vice versa. I mean, everyone just needs to be on the same page when it comes to these procedures and these policies. So inspect the data, inspect what you expect, and make your expectations very clear. Okay. And make sure that if someone isn't following through with what you expect, that you correct them. Okay. Quickly. The quicker the better. Don't let it slip and don't let it slip. Oh, this is a good driver. Oh, it's okay. I like him. He's good. We're good. Correct it. Okay. If he's a good driver, or if they are a good driver, he or she are a good driver, they will take the correction and they will do what they need to and continue on going forward. The ones that I have a problem with when it comes to correcting and they don't correct themselves, or they don't, do with what I'm expecting, those are usually the big trouble drivers anyways. It's the 80-20 rule. 20% of the drivers will cause 80% of the problems. It's 100% accurate, okay? The ones that don't want to listen to me when it comes to policies and procedures are usually the ones that don't want to listen to anybody. And at some point, you just have to make the call that it's time to cut them loose. So the 3 steps: identify the risk, implement the plans and the policies and procedures, and inspect the data. That's it. Those 3. If you do those 3, if you look at your company and use those 3 steps when it comes to safety and compliance, you're going to identify what you need. You're going to implement what you need. You're going to inspect what you expect, and you're going to have a better running safety and compliance department. Now, if these intimidate you or you don't even know where to start with these, reach out to me, okay? Sam@wattsman.com, Sam@wattsman.com. I will come in and I will identify all that for you because, again, I like trucking. I've been in this industry my entire life. I want to see it continue and to be better than what it is. And I think a good trucking company is a safe trucking company. And if I can help you out with that, that's what I want to do. So Sam@wattsman.com. If you don't know where to get started, I can help you out with that. Feel free to reach out to me. That is it. All right. So thank you very much, Ewing Safety and Industrial. Check them out, ewingsafety.com. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns about anything that I'm talking about here, reach out to me at sam@wattsman.com. And as always, I say it at the end of every episode, but I truly mean it. When you are out there, make sure that you drive safe.